Okay.
All
Anything
right.
off limits or that you don't want to talk about? Or I mean, I'm not going to ask you anything too terribly provocative.
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm an open book.
This is Inside Look. I'm Jeff Lyons, joined today by the newest member of the 14 News team, our multimedia journalist, Emma Beck. Welcome to Inside Look, Emma.
Thank you for having me.
Have you been here a whole, like 20, 25 minutes now, it seems?
Yes, almost 2 months on the dot.
Oh, it's
so,
2 months already.
Yes.
Okay.
Went by very quickly.
It did. So tell us a little bit about how you got to Channel 14, like where you from and where you went to school and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Indianapolis, about 3 hours up the road from here.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
Yes. It was
Big
important
place.
to me to stay in state. I'm very close with my family, and it's a quick drive if you have music playing. So it was important for me to look at some stations in state when I was looking at jobs, and I was very thankful to land a position here at 14. So
Great. And then you were at IU, right?
yes, I went to IU in Bloomington. Go Hoosiers.
Okay.
Studied journalism there and political science. So Bloomington's about halfway between Indy and Evansville, so I'm just making my way further down south.
Working your way down south.
Yes.
All right. Well, we're glad you picked us to come down here and work. So tell us a little bit about college. So I know you told me earlier you were an RA, resident
Yes.
assistant, right? Sort of the dorm cop. So how did that play out for you?
It was a very interesting few years of my college experience.
You did it a few years?
I did it all of college that I could. Yes. So freshman year, I lived in the dorm, and then sophomore through senior year, I stayed in the dorm as an RA. So
you were foster, is that what you told me? Or
I was in foster as an RA my sophomore year, and then I was in Teeter my last couple of years of school.
And those are kind of the oldie but goodie dorms,
yes,
especially Teeter.
They have AC. That's all that matters to me.
Yeah, they got all the mold scraped out for the most part, so you're good.
For the most part,
Yeah.
if you don't look close enough, it's no big deal.
What was the hardest part about being an RA? I mean, here you've got people that are roughly your age or maybe a year or two
Yes.
younger, and you got to, write them up, tell them what they can and can't do, dump their beers down the.
Oh, yes.
So what was the worst thing not the worst thing, but what was the hardest thing about being an RA?
Yeah, the age thing was difficult. My sophomore year, I'm young for my grade, so my sophomore year as an RA, all of my residents were exactly the same age, maybe even a little bit older than me. So that was difficult. And then finding the line between being their boss and being their friend. I wanted to be the cool RA and make them feel like they could come to me with their issues and their questions and everything, but also try to let them know, like, please keep all that bad stuff off my floor. It's
Right.
a lot of paperwork.
Yeah,
So finding that line was not fun, but you get used to it as the years go on.
All right. So you've had it with RAing. You've finished media school and
Yes.
political science, and so now you're doing your job search. And obviously, you said you wanted to stay close to home, so that's why you're here. And of course, you're talented, so that's why we brought you in here. So what's been the biggest surprise for you? I mean, 2 months in here, you probably had some expectations when you walked in the door. And now you've kind of seen, how we make the sausage here in the factory. So
Yes.
what do you think?
I wouldn't say this was a surprise, but one of the biggest challenges for me is how quickly everything moves. In college, I had at least a week to do a story. And looking back at that now, it's like almost laughable. So getting to do stories, I've done stories in like an hour or two, depending on my deadline. So that's been definitely a big surprise and a big challenge, but I've been tackling that. Going live has been a big change. Back in college, it's all look live. We did one newscast a week, and I could have filmed my live shot 2 weeks ago. Right. So it was definitely a big change to get into the groove of that, but I've been getting more comfortable with it.
And you've been anchoring. I saw you anchor here a couple times this
I've been
week.
starting
What
with that.
was that like for you?
It was another beast to tackle. I enjoy anchoring. It's definitely something I want to do more of in the future, but it's a lot. I mean, the viewers only see here up, but in my brain, I'm thinking, okay, what does my face look like? What are my head movements? I'm running my prompter. Is this a sad story or a happy story to talk about? It's a new beast, but I've been enjoying it.
And let's talk about, happy, sad stories. Of course, when you come in, generally you don't know what you're going to be sent on unless you've worked a story out and submitted it to the desk and they, have you go out on it. I saw you do a story the other day, and of course this will be playing back months probably after the story I saw, but you profiled a couple that got married early because I think the bride's father was going on a ventilator. Was that correct? What was that like for you? Had you been in those situations that are very delicate, very kind of private, and yet you're included? So how'd you handle that?
It was tough. I have done a couple stories interviewing like crash victims and family members of people who have passed, and it's always tough, but this one hit a little bit differently for me. I just recently got married myself a couple months ago.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Is this your honeymoon?
Yes.
2 wonderful weeks
On the
or months
podcast.
in Evansville
Yes.
in the news business. Okay.
But I was very emotional doing this story, and I don't typically get super emotional until maybe later I'm rewatching it, but in the moment I'm typically focused on what I need to record and what I need to say in my interview. But this one, like, it almost got me. It was the bride and her fiance decided to get married because the bride's father probably only has a few days left.
Yeah.
He's about to be put on a ventilator. So it was hard to hear her talking about how, her dad won't get to walk her down the aisle, and it was emotional because, like I said, I just had my wedding, and luckily my dad could be there to walk me down the aisle. So it hit a little bit differently for me, for sure.
Yeah. It's one of those stories, though. I see everything that goes out over the air here because I'm waiting to do the weather all the time. Believe it or not, I do watch the news, and some stories I'll think, wow. And that was one of them. I thought, wow, it was really good and probably a really hard story to do, to be in that position and to have them trust you.
Yes.
Then to present it. Did you have any feedback from them after the piece ran?
I have not heard from them. I know it's a very stressful time. I don't know when this podcast will be out, but currently I just did that story the other day. So I think, he's probably being put on the ventilator and everything. So I know it's a very stressful time, but I always feel a little bit awkward. I really try to get them to trust me because I walk in, I have all my gear, I have my big camera and my tripod and my microphone, and I know it can be a little bit stressful. So just, maybe putting the gear aside and talking to them one-on-one and trying to make them comfortable is always important.
Get some rapport and then work in. And I guess that's kind of thing you can't really simulate in college. I mean, it's I always thought when I started that, I learned more in that first 3 or 4 months than I did in a couple of years.
Oh, absolutely.
Nothing against IU or the journalism or that time telecom department. It's just that they can't possibly tell you what it really is like.
Not at all. And I am very thankful for my time at IU. I got to do a lot of everything, reporting, anchoring, producing, but I learned more probably my first week here than I got out of my experience at IU. And, their student media is fantastic, but it was a whole new beast coming here. So a lot to learn. Thankfully the team has been awesome and been very helpful.
So what planted the seed for you to pursue journalism?
So I have always known I wanted to do news. I know that's not typically the story for everyone, but I remember being like 8, 9 years old doing the elementary school announcements, in front of the little camcorder. And I did that through middle school. And then in high school, I joined my high school's newspaper. I went to Southport High School in Indy. We had a pretty good newspaper program, and we didn't have anything broadcast. So I did newspaper, and I just remember thinking it was so awesome. I got to interview the principal, and I got to, do all that. There was a lot going on in high school. When I was at Southport, COVID, we were in quarantine for a couple years, and big elections were going on, and it was a cool time to be a student reporter. So I knew I wanted to do that in college and got into broadcast, thankfully, and I just loved it.
You talked about the COVID, of course, being in your high school years before you came in. That had to shape, in some ways, your sensibility about what to cover and how to do it.
Yes, it was a very pivotal time. I was a very pivotal age. I would say I think I was 16 when we went into quarantine. And just, getting that social aspect of your life ripped away and learning how to, at least being a student reporter, learning how to interview people virtually and create stuff from home.
Yeah. And do you feel like it kind of just bulk erased or wiped out 2 years in there, where you should have been, at the football game, or you should have been at the dance or the prom or whatever, and you couldn't, because those things weren't even available at the time. You can't have regrets. It happened to us all. I didn't miss the prom, but,
I still look back kind of heartbroken. I have 3 younger siblings, and 2 of them are in high school right now, and I'm like, what do you mean you're going to homecoming? And, oh, what do you mean you get senior night and all this stuff? I'm just devastated. Like, I married my high school sweetheart, and we didn't get a homecoming dance together or anything like that, like these typical high school couples. So it was a weird time for sure.
So you're going through a lot of changes here then, freshly
Yes.
married and freshly into the business. What does your husband do?
He is currently getting his master's in counseling. He's looking to be a therapist.
Okay.
So while he's in school, he is working for the Department of Child Services here in Evansville. So
Okay.
he's doing some casework with them.
Interesting. All right. So you'll have support no matter what. I mean, obviously a husband, but a counselor is a good thing too when you
Yes.
do this for a living.
Yes.
So, was he excited about moving down here? You said you were a high school sweetheart, so you're from the area too.
Yes, he is. You know, his whole family's in Indiana, just like mine. So we were super excited to stay in state. And he kind of always told me throughout college, you know, journalism is weird. You could be put anywhere over the country. You know, it's sometimes hard to get a position. So he always told me, like, we'll go wherever you get a job. I've been very thankful for that support. And I'm even more thankful to be by family. His family's in southern Indiana, so they're not too far away.
Okay. Do you have a big splashy wedding, or was it like a barn thing, or how'd you do it?
It was, I would say, pretty typical size, 200 people. We had a venue in Franklin, Indiana. It's a little bit south of Indy. And it was a super cool kind of modern venue. And they did all of it in the same place. It's multiple floors. So one floor you did your ceremony, you go upstairs, do the reception. It was a cool place.
Okay. Yeah. My daughter has friends who are getting married, and there's so much more planning involved,
Oh,
than
yes.
like when I got married many years ago, 37 years ago. You just kind of went and got married, but now, a lot of stuff goes into it.
It's pressure. It is a lot of pressure.
And you were doing that while you were in college. So you're
Yes.
picking all that stuff out. And
Yes.
Oh, man.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how I did it, because I get home now from work and I'm like done for the night. I
Right.
don't know how I was in college. And
Oh, you were younger then.
back in the day,
Right.
planning the wedding and all. But I always now say if journalism doesn't work out, I'm going to be a wedding planner, because I actually really enjoyed it. So
Yeah. So you talked about political science as your other major or minor. So do you like those kinds of stories, political
Yes.
and policy and things like that?
I actually, going back to our COVID conversation, I think that was a big turning point for me. It was a big pivotal time for politics, and there was a lot of big elections going on at the time. So being in quarantine and not having anything else to do, I got super into that. So
Yeah.
I think going into college, minoring in political science, it was cool to learn about all of that. And I've really enjoyed kind of getting into local politics a little bit with some of my reporting, and definitely looking forward to doing more of that.
Did you go to Hoosier Girls State? Do you know what that is? Or
I
did you ever
don't.
hear
I
of
don't
it?
know what that is.
Okay, I just asked it randomly. So there's a program. It's by the American Legion called. There's Hoosier Boys State, Hoosier Girls
Okay.
State, and it's a week-long camp basically. And you set up a government, and you have the Nationalists and the Federalists are the two imaginary parties, and
Interesting.
you elect a governor, and you learn how the state government works
Yes.
and all that. And when I went, which was in 1981, a long time ago, but it was a thing that every high school got to send a delegate to it and
Interesting.
somebody, and it was kind of an honor to go. I didn't realize it at the time. I was just a good speaker, and I got it. I didn't get elected to anything at Hoosier Boys State, but I wondered if maybe you had, that had happened to
That
you.
sounds. I think I would have really enjoyed that.
Well, maybe that's a story for you then. You find
Yes,
somebody who went to Hoosier
yes.
Girls State and see what they tell you.
Yeah, I think I would. My most boring but most informational class in college was literally called Indiana State Government, and I learned all about how it works, and it was probably the most boring class of my life, but I will never forget what I learned. So
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for that.
Yeah, it's frightening how it works,
Yes,
and the stuff you have to remember for a test versus then when you actually see everything and you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess I
Yes.
get that. So looking ahead, you've been here a grand total of 2 months.
Yes.
You've anchored, you've done a live shot, you've done some tear-jerking pieces, you've done the run-of-the-mill fire and wreck kind of stuff. What kind of if you could just every day walk in and say, this is what I'm doing today, what really gets you going?
To be honest, I love the people-centered stories like the ICU story we were talking about. I love just when people open their hearts and their minds to me, and the interview just, we forget we're even on camera. I love stories like that, whatever that looks like. I would prefer for them to be happy, but whatever that looks like. I also really nerdily enjoy the education and politics stories. I've covered a lot of school board meetings, city council meetings, stuff like that. It just happens to be the shift that I'm on, but I enjoy when they make big decisions that affects people, and people are either really happy, people are always really mad, you never know. So I really like those people-centered stories and finding those angles. So.
Yeah, and there will be plenty,
I'm sure.
as we go along. There's
I'm sure.
an inexhaustible supply of those, and it's up to you to, beat the bushes and find the good ones and tell those stories. Anything else? What have I not asked you that I should ask you about? Any interesting hobbies, interests? You scale Mount Kilimanjaro or anything wild?
Nothing like that. I'm pretty lame, to be honest.
Now don't say that.
I do a lot of reading, a lot of binging TV. I love reality TV, so maybe I need to join. What's the trend next, and talk about all my reality TV.
Don't start your own show. We're all getting shows around here.
At this point,
yeah.
I just love hanging out with family. Most of my weekends, I'm driving up, seeing them, or they're driving down, seeing me. I'm super close with my siblings and everything. So, just pretty basic. Nothing crazy. I'm not a big hiker, so no mountains in my future. But.
Okay. Your folks had to be pleased to then actually see you on TV or probably online.
Yes.
To watch from up there, obviously. But was that surprising for them too? It's like,
absolutely.
They probably knew you could do it, right? But I mean, still, it's something different when you're actually doing it.
Yes, they have the 14 News app downloaded on their TV. They watch it every evening. I'm very thankful to have their support. They always joke with me that they have no idea what's going on in Indianapolis. They don't know the weather or anything because all they do is watch 14. So I'm thankful to have their support. We taught my grandparents how to download the app on their TV.
Wow.
So they have that. It's been weird because obviously they watched all my stuff throughout college, but it's very college level, and I had a different name and everything. So, new name, new job. It's been a lot of big change, but I know they're proud, and it's been good to have their support for sure.
Good for you. It's all good right now. It is indeed the honeymoon period.
Oh, yes.
So we're glad you can be spending it here with us.
Me too.
At 14 News, okay? And we'll have you back sometime when you do start hiking or doing these other things.
Yeah, you might be waiting a while.
No. And never brand yourself as lame, because you're doing good work.
Well, thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Emma Beck, our newest multimedia journalist for 14 News. You can watch all the 14 News podcast, and now we've added, as you mentioned, What's the Trend. You can check that out with Casey Mason and Aaron Weeks on Fridays. They broadcast or cast from in here as well, so check out our companion podcast.
Yes,
you can also watch them on the 14 News YouTube channel. For Inside Look, I'm Jeff Lyons. Thanks for joining.